explain about the history of WTO. WTO, we know as the World Trade Organization, is the international intergovernmental organization signed by 123 nations on 15 April 1994 and officially commenced on 1 January 1995 under the Marrakesh Agreement. And the role of WTO is to supporting development and promoting peaceful under the relation between the countries. The World Trade Organization (WTO) is an intergovernmental organization which regulates international trade. The WTO officially commenced on 1 January 1995 under the Marrakesh Agreement, signed by 123 nations on 15 April 1994, replacing the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade (GATT). From the early days of the Silk Road to the creation of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, and the birth of WTO, trade has played an important role in supporting economic development and promoting peaceful relations among nations. This page traced the history of trade from its earliest roots to the present day.
So now I will explain about the structure of the WTO. The Ministerial Conference is the top of the structural organization of the WTO. It is the supreme governing body which takes ultimate decisions on all matters. It is constituted by representatives of ministers of trade, all the member countries. Here's the structure of the World Trade Organization. As I said before, that the Ministerial Conference is the top of the structural organization of the WTO. And next is the General Council. General Council is composed of the representatives of all the members. It is the real engine of the WTO which acts on behalf of the Ministerial Conference. It also acts as the dispute settlement body as well as the trade policy review body. There are three councils in the WTO. First is the Council for Trade in Service and the Council for Trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights or TRIPS. It is operating under the General Council. These councils with their subsidiary bodies carry out their specific responsibilities. Further, there are three committees in the WTO. First, the Committee on Trade and Development. Next, the Committee on Balance of Payments Restrictions, and the Committee on Budget, Finance, and Administrations, which execute the functions assigned to them by the WTO agreement and the General Council. The administrations of the WTO is conducted by the Secretariat, which is headed by the Director General, appointed by the MC for the tenure of 4 years. He is assisted by the 4 deputy directors from different member countries. The annual budget, estimates, and financial statement of the WTO are presented by the DG to the CBFA for review and recommendations for the final approval by the General Council.
Now I will explain about the purpose of World Trade Organization and the impact of WTO in international trade. World Trade Organization, or as we know as WTO, is the only international organization that controls economic of the world. WTO also oversees many agreements defining as trade rule among their members. The implementation successful of WTO is depend of their members. WTO has several purposes, such as the first is encourage trade flows between states by reducing and removing various obstacles that can disrupt the smooth flow of trade in goods and services. The second is facilitating the negotiation by providing a more permanent negotiating forum. The last is settlement of trade dispute between states. Now I will explain about WTO function. The first is to provide an institutional framework for trade relations between members in the implementation of agreement and various legal instruments, including those contained in the annex to the WTO agreement. The second is to provide a permanent forum for negotiation between member states, include issues that have or have not been included in WTO agreement. The WTO is also directly related to international trade and has several influences, such as encourage open competition. WTO is often interpreted as a free trade body, but actually, tariffs and some forms of protection are still permitted. So, WTO is a system governed by open, fair, and healthy competition. The application of MFN principle or the most preferred country and national arrangement for free trade management, including on dumping and subsidies. In essence, agreement to support fair competition in the field of trade in goods, agriculture, intellectual property, right, and service. The second is encourage development, reform, and economic. Economic and development experts agree that WTO system can approve development. WTO agreement also provide approval for what is given to developing countries in meeting WTO condition. Meanwhile, the least developed country get special assistance and trade concession as required by GATT regulation. The last is increased predictability. The establishment of a multilateral trading system is an attempt by WTO members to create a stable and predictable business environment. With freedom and predictable policy, investment can be made, jobs are created, and consumers can benefit from a fair competition system. Example, these multilateral trades try to increase predictability and free international trade. One way to reduce the use of quotas is to improve import. Another way is to improve a state trade regulation. Through this system, a clear and transparent trade rule can be made. The trade policy supervision mechanism is one of the means to increase openness at both the domestic and multilateral levels.
We move to the last topic, which is the decision-making procedure of the WTO. WTO is a rule-based organization that result from negotiations. The agreement must result from a series of negotiations conducted by all member countries and reflect the needs of each members. In reality, negotiations and preparations of the initial draft agreement is determined by the other factors, namely the political power of the member countries. In the WTO itself, known as power bloc or power group, called Quad or commonly known as Group 4, consisting of countries such as the European Union, the United States of America, Japan, and Canada. The formations of the WTO in the Uruguay round has resulted in a change in the international trade system. Among the several issues discussed in the Uruguay round, one of the highlights was in agriculture. This agreement is called the Agreement of Agriculture. This agreement has been arranged by the WTO and takes effect on January 1st, 1995, where each country must reform trade policies in agriculture to remove subsidies by removing its agriculture tariff. The essence of this point in the Agreement of Agriculture is to create a free trade system of agricultural product and a liberalistic agriculture system.